Minutes, approval of minutes from December 5, 2022.
I move them.
Second.
All in favor?
No extension, please.
Okay. Approval of minutes from December 19, 2022.
Move approval.
Second,
Wait, sorry,
which one was on that? The second one.
The 19th.
sorry, I
19th.
approved the fifth.
There's, I marked it down. Okay, so
Yeah.
you said, so the fifth was
Approve the
five.
fifth, but not the 19th.
Fifth was
Yes.
5.
Sorry.
19th was 4.
Okay.
One abstention.
Yep.
And that was written.
Okay.
Read that.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
for the second one, all in favor? Okay.
Now I abstain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appointments, recognitions, and resignations. Approve appointment of Meg Asher to the Sustainability Committee effective January 4th, 2023.
Move appointment.
Second,
Is all in favor? Consent agenda. Item A, Department Report, Highway Buildings and Grounds, Solid Waste. Item B, thank you letter from Mount Desert Nursing Association, December 14, 2022.
Move acceptance of the consent agenda as presented. Second.
All in favor? Selectmen's report.
I have something. I received 2 complaints about a light on Stanley Lane, which shines into 2 houses. The resident of which one is here, I'm not saying that right, but you know what I mean. And the neighbor also complained, and the neighbor complained about also a light on Summit Road, which shines in the other side, and a light on Pine Street, which shines in another house. So I'm reporting that, and I'm hoping that you would like to say something about how it's affected you.
Yes, the street light is directly across from my house. The lane is 15 feet wide. This is a commercial light. My house is lit up all the time. I don't need an outside at all. I didn't put up Christmas lights because I have no privacy. There's nothing. My whole house, my front yard, if I want to sit on my front porch, everybody can see me. I have nothing. There was, my opinion, no assessment was done for this light. It shines in 2-bedroom windows, my front of my house. I would like it removed. The street is too small for this light. And there's one right on the corner. The next pole is the corner. It is too close together. I really think that should have been an assessment done. If there's a light that needs to be put on that street, look at it where it should really needs to be. And that was not the location that it should be. Yeah, I know my neighbor suggested it, but it's not affecting him at all. It's affecting myself and my neighbor. It shines in windows. And I feel that we have lived there all this time. Somebody should have come and talked with us before it was put in.
Is it a new light?
Yes, yes.
How long has it been there?
Right, beginning of December.
Oh, just
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
There was
It's
one.
brand spanking new.
Mr. Stanley requested it.
Is there a difference between a commercial light and a residential? Is that,
I think those are the standard lights. That
The LED.
Sustainability committee that we use in all of that, so there's not a different standard for those things. They're all the same. That one those were turned face the other way.
They're turned to the side, but it still lights up the same amount of space. It's only gone 2 feet different to the side. So it does, that pole is directly across from my house.
Can they put some kind of a shade on it so it points
There
good?
There's a shade about that long on it. It does not affect that.
Standard dampening shade that we use. You can vote to take it back out. You voted it in, you can vote it back out.
I feel like we should look at it, and if there's one that close to it
There is.
and
You can
try
probably
to
see it on the
appease,
way home.
yes,
Yeah,
Three
there's
neighbors.
literally a house and a half, the next one on the corner. You can literally stand on my front porch and see the light on the corner. It is that close. There is no other telephone pole on that road. I mean, it is less than a quarter of a mile long. I mean, I am like maybe 30 feet from that pole.
So there's 3 poles within that, from the corner towards your house, or 3 lights?
No, there's one on the corner and then the next pole is mine.
Okay,
So there is no other pole, and then the next one is on the other end of the road.
okay.
So there is no other telephone pole on that road.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm late to the conversation. I apologize. I wasn't here and hear the whole thing, but there's, I'm sure you'll listen. There, those lights are, you can dim them, you can do different color temperatures, you can do shading. There's a lot of choices to work through. I don't know if any of that's happened here. The PD usually are the ones that take care of getting the work done. Bar Harbor has the similar lights. We actually are able to make the adjustments ourselves in Bar Harbor, but we didn't buy that technology over here, so we had to have the company do it for us. But we are able to try to work with that if you'd like.
Why don't you go take a look at it and see if this.
Yeah, I would love to see if we can't help you,
Right.
but instead of removing and then voting back in or upsetting someone else, seeing if we can adjust something.
And historically, we-
Because the road is dark a little further down, but maybe you could work with Bob, Northeast Plumbing, to see if you could put something on the back of his building, which would make the section that isn't lit up a lot better than putting it where it was, which would be at the end of somebody's driveway, which would be, it goes to 3 houses. It's not, wouldn't be directly in front of somebody's house, like it is mine.
We'll try to work.
Yeah.
Get back to you.
Can you
That'd be
get back
great.
to us with a solution? Because it does sound like it's a
Get
problem.
back to you with a suggestion.
Exactly what we want.
Well, I mean,
Solution.
in addition, that leads me to think that perhaps when someone comes in requesting something of this nature, we ought to at least push it
Look
back a
into it a
couple
little
of weeks
more.
and give people an opportunity to come and make the case against,
Yeah,
rather than put it up and then take it down.
Right.
I know that, not everybody's looking at the agenda every time we have a meeting, but if they're gonna build the building next to your house, they send you a notice and say they're gonna have a hearing. I don't know if there's a way we could do that, but that would have saved, the person requesting it and the person that doesn't want it could have had their opportunity to make their cases before we spent money.
Well, an
I don't-
assessment, just to like,
Right.
to
Right.
not have it maybe direct, but just moved 3 feet or whatever.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a good point, Jeff.
yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Terry.
So we will look into it. We'll get a suggestion
Okay.
and we will let the property owners know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming.
I'm sorry, Teresa Burr.
Teresa Burr.
Yeah.
Oh,
And her neighbor who complained was about that, but there were 2 other lights that he also was concerned about. So I'm just putting that out there. He wasn't able to come tonight. But he said there was one on Pine Street and there's one on Summit Road, but I don't know.
So he owns the house on the
On
corner
the corner.
Summit
He's on
and
the
Maine,
corner,
and
yeah.
Summit and Stanley Lane.
and also on the corner of Pine and Sylvan. Pine and,
Yes, right, he said right.
yes,
here.
right
Yeah.
across the street
Yeah.
from us.
That's, the one he's talking about, the Pine and Sylvan, isn't his second house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
So we should maybe look at that too, just to see if there's something we can do to mitigate somewhat.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you very much.
thank you.
Any other reports?
Well, I have one other thing. It's just that I wondered if where we stand with the marina plan, because I looked on the last time the harbor committee was meeting, I didn't see any thing on the agenda to discussion, and they indicated when they were here, or some of the harbor committee people, that they wanted to take it back and discuss it. I just
I'll ask
don't want it
Joanne.
to fall through the cracks.
That's a good question. I'll follow up with John.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anyone? Unfinished business. Item A, accept $7,000 donation from Town of Mount Desert Community Development Corporation.
That's towards the payment for the maintenance and of the ring. And we have a contract, a proposal for you to sign if you That's another item on here, but we do have the check in hand. If we vote to approve it, we will see what's positive.
Move acceptance.
Second,
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify that there's a contract here for Mr. Bronson to,
Yes, and that's where that money will be used.
okay, so that donation will pay this.
Right.
Perfect. That's what I thought, but I just,
Sure.
Perfect.
It's all good.
no, I wasn't sure if we were accepting a donation of the value of things and then we were taking on a new,
No.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? All right, now. Item B, review and consider acceptance of proposal from Peter Bronson for maintenance of the Northeast Harbor Marina skating rink.
You get a chance to use it. I think it's.
Yeah,
Be a good plan.
Yeah, it's good if it's year by year.
Oh, yeah, it's just, this is just for this year.
Yeah, so that is that stated in there? specifically?
No, I think you know, it can be renewed or, you know, you can just terminate it at the end of the skating season and then you can bring it back at the end. Once the rink is down, it will be de facto anyway.
The other thing too is if you, worst possible case or best possible case, depending on how you look at it. 20 to 25 hours a week, for a 3-month period comes out to be. You know, could be as high as 10 grand. So we do have money somewhere in case that is over
Yeah.
the 7th.
Yeah, we can come up with something like that, but I'm hoping that we don't go over that.
No, we probably won't,
No, we
but,
probably won't.
but I just want to make sure we
He
don't.
had
run afoul.
estimated probably around 6.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
especially the way the weather is there.
Well, that's,
yeah,
yeah,
I know. All right, any further discussion?
no, I would move. Did somebody already move it? No,
No,
move acceptance, review and move acceptance of the proposal from Peter Bronson.
Second,
all in favor? Great. New business, item A, public space special event application wedding, February 4, 2023, Summonsby Park. Yikes.
Burr.
Yeah,
We're only going to be
That
there,
would
I
be a
think, for
30
half an
minute.
hour.
Well,
yeah.
What? Yeah.
no soliciting.
what if they can't get down there? Like,
They won't be.
Then
They won't have
That's
it.
right.
because,
Not my problem.
I'd say that's probably
We keep
weather
it
dependent.
okay. They
It's
know
closed,
that,
it's closed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I talked to them and said that, you know, depends on, you know, how the weather is.
They want a
Obviously, if there's
snowshoe
no
out
storm,
there.
We're not using it.
Right.
Well, yeah, snowshoes, there you go.
Snowshoe.
Well, I don't think the snowshoes would satisfy, they have some, they need a bench for some elderly family members. I'm not sure that people that need a bench.
Sled.
Yeah.
That's like.
Well, it might
Anyway.
also raise a parking issue.
Good.
I did.
If they have to walk down and then people would be parking on Sergeant
Yeah.
Drive.
You're talking about 10 people, 10
If they can't
guests.
drive, then
Yeah.
it's not
I-
much.
Is that all they have?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
so
why-
they're gonna be
that's why,
parking
yeah.
one van.
Well, it shouldn't be a lot, 10 people.
Yeah.
That's why. Good luck. That's
All right.
good.
So I would move approval of the special event application, providing they can get in for their 30 minutes.
Second.
All in favor? All right, good luck to them. That's good. Authorization, item B, authorization to pay MCN Electric $5,625 for the purchase and replacement of 2 power pedestals out of the Northeast Harbor Marina. Power pedestal CIP number 6410100-24680, which has a balance of $105,134.26.
Move the authorization.
Second,
All in favor?
Thank you.
Item C, authorize town manager Derlin Lunt to enter into HR employee sharing agreement with the town of Bar Harbor.
That's the position, the human resource that was.
I think we missed one.
last year, and Zach Harris has been hired from Bar Harbor to fill that position, and he's been over here.
okay.
Yeah.
Couple of days a week, doing a very good job, doing what we would hope to do. So maybe get that contract signed.
Yeah, so I had one issue with that. So under rights and duties of Bar Harbor, it says recalling HR professional to work for Bar Harbor exclusively in the case of emergencies. So if they have to recall this person, or
Out of luck.
you know, so we're out of luck, so. Can we have a 30-day notice? Can we,
If that helps, this is the same language that we have in all of our sharing agreements with Barhart.
I think we have a notice period.
Well, that's for termination, I believe.
I think the original police chief sharing agreement that actually Mount Desert's attorney drew up, that's where that language came from.
Yeah.
And you had the ability to recall me. We're not talking about terminating the agreement. It's my understanding that, but if a major event comes up here and you want me here for that, you have the ability to say you're coming home until we're done.
And we did the same thing with Kim when we lent her to Tremont.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think it's a poison pill by.
no, like, well, I didn't think it was either, but I just,
Yeah, you don't like it? Lawyers wrote it.
that's where all those heretofores and therefore afters come from. Alright.
I just have another question on the term. It's for 3 years, but if things aren't working or there's an issue and both parties agree that something isn't working, we can
There's a termination.
termination. Okay. I just, sometimes these things are hard to read.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion in a second?
Move approval?
Second.
Good, all in favor? Item D, review and adopt memorandum of understanding template for contracting municipal and community oriented services. Did maybe you open look at this?
Excuse me,
Did Andy Hamilton?
yes, good, that,
Yeah, went through.
went through the firm, and he wasn't.
All right.
The firm. Good.
I'll move it.
Mhm.
Second,
Any discussion?
This is, can somebody bring me up to date here? This is not the,
Remember, we were gonna have the third party.
yeah, okay. So this is, yeah, so I had a couple of questions about, I mean, we identified a few of the organizations like the Neighborhood House and the libraries that were clear candidates. I had a meeting today with the Mount Desert Historical Society, and I guess the question that I have and they asked was about, you know, if things are about the changes going on, when are they going to take place, and people, and you know, is it once we've identified this list of service organizations that belong on this in the budget, basically, rather than having to do the third party requests, how will that evolve, and will that change over time and things like that?
I would say I would say it's probably a political decision. That's so the organizations that were on the list came directly from the conversation on third party policy. That list by no means has to be set in stone. If you know there's an organization that makes a case to you about moving from third party request status to MOU status, and you agree with that argument and want to move them into that status, there would be nothing prohibiting them from doing that.
Okay.
I don't know if that is.
Yeah, that's sort of what I thought.
I think what we talked about was that we were gonna start with the small group.
And then see
how
how
it goes, and, you know, see what happens in the future, but because these are really performing
Yes,
an aspect of public
Right.
service that the town has.
So my question though is, I don't see Seal Harbor VIS on here.
Well, that none of the DISs are.
none of the.
Yeah, so is that, and those
We
are,
didn't
those
put
are
those
apples
on.
and oranges, so. The Aid Society was a VIS, not a Creek, it's very different than the Seal Harbor VIS.
Right, but
Which-
we didn't include any of them in this
Yeah,
go around.
Yeah, so was that because the slippery slope, you didn't want to necessarily include one, if you couldn't include all?
My feeling was in the discussions in the committee was just to get our toes in the water and see how it went with these.
We had-
These organizations.
if I may, and going back to October 17th, when it was first discussed at this board, we were creating something from nothing.
Right.
We had no policy regarding third-party funding. And we put together the group to create a policy and corralled those individual entities that were providing a service directly to the town that other towns pretty much pay to have provided like their transportation system. We have Downey's transportation. They shouldn't be in the third-party mix.
Yeah.
We don't have a town recreation department. We use the neighborhood house. So they shouldn't be in the thing. We don't have a public library. So we contract with the library. So we figured that was the low-hanging fruit in those groups.
Yeah.
We established the framework. We chose those three to begin with. And that gave us a format within which we could work to look at all the other third-party entities to see whether that shoe fits them or doesn't.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
So for this year,
Okay, I'm
That's
just saying, I was a little surprised because that was always a contentious item in the third party reports.
Yeah,
was,
Indeed,
you know,
and it will continue to be, I'm sure.
Well, and the concern that was expressed to me was about, not a concern so much, but if an organization that had been in the third party request list for a long time, but was hoping to sort of expand and strengthen their relationship with the town, and where would that leave them if they got, you know, if this moved on and they weren't in it, and you know, how does things go forward? So that helps my.
that's another reason not to have too many.
I agree. I just wanted to clarify and because, you know, if people want to, I know a couple of years ago, like one of the village improvement societies needed a fairly large contribution that year because of a project that they had, and that may be the case for them too, but going forward, they have other thoughts on how they'd like to strengthen the relationship with the town, which I thought were worthy of arguing, and the only opportunity to come and speak to us is at that third-party request meeting, which is not a big opportunity. So just that's another.
That's actually, that's their only opportunity to get on the budget, on the warrant, but they had, you know, how
At
many
any
meetings a year,
They
anytime.
could, at any time, they could come and make a presentation.
Sure.
about their position.
Yeah.
Request to be on the agenda, I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a great start, though.
Oh, I think so
Yeah.
too. I
I think
think
it's nice to
absolutely.
have something.
It's- This was your thing, Rick, you did a good job.
Thank you.
good. Thank you very much. This is great.
So did we approve it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
I would move approval.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor? Thanks, Rick. Thanks
You're welcome.
for everybody that was on that committee.
A lot of people had input.
Yeah.
and then some-
Discussion, item E, discussion of contracted service organizations governed by MOU and associated budget presentation.
I will. I like number 2,
You like number two?
yeah,
Want to start there?
yeah, that's what I liked. Create a new department within the 200 series to be appropriated within the general government warrant article, rather than having them mushed in with the third-party requests,
Absolutely.
or creating a new department. I thought that made sense to me.
So, yeah, so if you put that in the form of a, I guess, an approval, then that would be the direction that I would go. And what I think Derlin and I had talked about is that we would bring representatives of these organizations to maybe the second meeting in January, if we can get them, and that would be, those approvals would be essentially, or those budget requests would be included in the general government overall budget that you would already reviewed, and I can, walk you through the, I guess, the impact of adding them to that article.
Right.
Mhm. I like that one.
So do we need to,
So I guess in the form of a motion, given the memorandum that has been submitted to the board by Jake Wright, I would move that we accept the number 2 model that he has presented in that create a new department within the 200 series to be appropriated within the general government warrant article. Said department would be entitled contracted municipal and community oriented services or similar. Representatives of the MOU government organization could attend the general government budget review meetings and or submit requested documents as determined appropriate by the select board. I so move.
Second.
Good. All in favor?
That's what I meant by I like number two.
For the edification of all those who aren't looking at number two, I would at least enlighten them.
And one clarifying point, do I also, the slate that was presented, that discussion has already occurred and we're moving forward with the slate as presented. Of the organizations to be approached about MOU or?
It was my impression that that was the intent when we were discussing the MOU.
The only one on there that I can't really think belongs in this first iteration is the Island Explorer. They just seem to be substantively different from the library and the neighborhood house. In that they have a large amount, not that any of them don't, but they have a large amount of private funding and they're an outside enterprise that serves more than just the town of Mount Desert. It's just a thought. I'm not feeling, I don't have strong feelings about that. I just, they don't fit with me with the other groups as so clearly.
Yeah, but, I mean, this can change.
Yeah, question came up.
And you think about other towns that do support public transportation, we don't have to do that, so in a way.
But do the other towns on the island?
No, I'm talking about, not talking about the island, I'm thinking
In the
in
world.
general.
Yeah,
I understand that,
I think that the other towns on the island do all contribute.
but is it under, okay, I just wonder if it's budgeted for a certain fixed amount or if it's a request item or,
either way, it's probably gonna cost the same.
I get that.
This is based on the premise that we don't have our own public transportation system. But regardless of what other towns on the island are doing, whether they have a fixed amount or a variable amount, or whether they have a third-party request process that they use, we looked at it through a lens of what services do towns in general purchase, such as recreation, libraries, public transportation. And those jumped out of the list of third parties. And that's why they were included, just as to offer as a rationale.
I guess, yeah.
Well, and it presupposes that they're going to agree to come to a meeting and sign an MOU.
Yeah, that's true.
I bet they will.
I bet they were.
Okay, so we're all set?
Do we vote it? We did.
Yes, we
Oh,
did.
we did. Sorry.
Item F, authorize Darrell Lunt, town manager, to sign an MOU with Harold Alphonse Center for the Advancement of Maine's Workforce and authorize the acceptance of training cost contributions.
It's a good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
add some value to the town employees and also, perhaps save some money that we might have spent, totally for that type of training. So I think it's a great opportunity for the employees, a good opportunity for the town, it's a good investment, I think, in the community, so.
This was an example that HR professional back here is doing a good job for us. He found the program and recommended it.
So this program is open to all businesses in Maine or just
Well,
municipalities?
it's open to lots of different entities, but I believe in the document that I had provided, it does list municipalities specifically as being, being acceptable to the program.
Because the way it was written, it sounded like it was applicable to many different kinds of businesses, yeah.
Well, I think the Harold Elfman said what they're trying to do is to keep workers in Maine and
Sure,
give
yeah.
people opportunity to grow while working in Maine. I think it's a great,
Yeah,
I had never heard of it, and I think it's terrific.
and they're all about education.
It's nice to hear a good example of why something is working the way you want it to.
Absolutely.
Because certain people have time to do certain things and
Yeah, this is probably something that would, this may not have come across my radar. But he found it, proposed it, and I think the value that we're gonna get out of this is huge.
And I would expect that the employees must feel the same way,
Yeah, as soon as this is adopted, we'll inform everyone of that.
and they can make a choice if they wanna.
What it'll really amount to is that it makes it easier to incentivize training.
Right.
Because we already have, the personnel policy discusses, training incentives and everything, and now it just makes it a little bit easier to provide that benefit to employees.
Okay.
Terrific.
Mhm.
I would move authorization.
Second,
All in favor? Thank you. That's nice.
Yeah.
Item G, consider the appointment of members to a comprehensive plan committee to work on updates to the town's comprehensive plan.
We got Noel on the line, he can explain a little bit about how that update process is going to work. So there's Noel.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as some of you may have been involved in the last comprehensive plan just over 10 years ago. So it's time to start updating. And the process that we'd be probably going through in Mount Desert is more of an update than sort of a reboot of the whole thing. There's the way I start to think about it is in 3 different phases. So right now, it's really just sort of the data collection. We have to go through all the required sections and update the data. We've got updated census data that's come out and all that. So we've started that process right now. And what we'd end up wanting to do is through this committee, just take a look at your existing comprehensive plan and really probably pick sections that we need to spend more time on and some of the sections that we can spend a little less time on, that things might not have changed all that much in 10 years. So we'd want to really focus on, those most important topic areas from, housing seems to be is a really big topic and a very important topic. Economy, things like that might be on the list. So it's really important to have a comprehensive plan committee, and we're just sort of the facilitator of the process. And what we may do is sort of the end product will probably be a little more of a reformatted look than what the current one is. So it's more user friendly and a little more readable. So 3 sections, we'll do the data section, then focus in on the goals and objectives and strategies. And then intertwined in all that is a public process. And we've already started some of that with the neighborhood meetings that we've had, which have been very well attended. And I think there's some real excitement and interest in the community to keep going through the process. So I think it'll be great to have a well-rounded comp plan committee.
When do you need them?
So what we'd like to do is, that's why I started the data updates now, because I think we can jump into or take a couple months or 2-3 months going over and updating the data sections. And then once those are all done, we can start having the meetings with the committee. So we may want to have in a couple months, just have a kickoff meeting and then really maybe get into it in earnest after the summer, maybe in the fall. If that makes sense to everybody. I think what I'm trying to avoid is the old comprehensive plan problem, which is we get, bogged down in data analysis that really doesn't change any conclusions. So if we can come at this with some of the data and key findings already outlined, then we can start, the discussion on things that people are probably a little more interested in. Not that data isn't important, it's just that kind of a head start on the data. So what I would propose is trying to find a committee within the next couple months. Maybe we have a kickoff meeting and identify those sections of the comp plan that really need to be focused on and those that we can spend a little less time on. And then we can outline a more thorough process moving forward.
How many people?
How many people were on the last one? I think, 7-ish, somewhere in that area. I can look and send you a recommended number. I don't think it needs to be overwhelming, but again, this is the town's comprehensive plan and we want to be the facilitator of the plan. And it's really good to have a group of citizens that are kind of advising, here's the goals and strategies that we actually want to pursue and not what the consultants always say we should pursue. So
is that something that we would like advertise?
Yeah, we generally.
Yep.
do.
And I assume you'd want a BOS liaison person to be part of that?
yes,
I would do that.
you're hired.
You're hired. Right.
I mean, look, my experience is comprehensive plans, and not to belabor the topic, but they can be a really good celebration of your community. And I get it. we do a lot of stuff for you guys and I'm out and about in the community and it just seems like there's a lot of energy for it right now. So it really is a good time to have the conversations that you're supposed to have during a comprehensive plan. So I think it could be a really interesting process. And that's part of the reason why, you dive into the data process sort of behind the scenes first, get things out. That's not to say that people on the committee aren't going to have questions that need to be clarified, but, to really just start the conversations with the topics that, are most important right now, rather than, what's happened in the past is you can just slog through data, but not really get to anything that's, either kind of action oriented and implementable. You spend a little less time on implementation and a lot more time on data in the past, and that's not really the way it should be the other way around.
Great.
You want to
How
get
are
some
we
good
going to implement this? How are we going to build consensus, that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think,
We need
Darling.
geographic balance, I would assume on that note. Because
Yes.
of the diversity of villages.
Yeah,
And
very
assuming-
much.
So I mean, assuming if we sort of start soliciting for people that are interested, that we would have to have quite a discussion, hopefully, if we get, 15 people that want to be on the committee, we'd have to talk about.
Yeah, you want to balance it out.
Yeah,
Make
I
sure
agree,
that each village
absolutely.
has representation.
Yeah, and I throw out the 7 number. I'm sorry to interject again, but I mean, I think it really depends on how many people you have interested, who they are, where they are. It could be maybe I think we should kind of think about that at a certain point. So I think, again, the more participation in this type of process, the better it is. And it's building the consensus that just takes the time. That's all.
Good.
So do we need to approve this
What I would do
committee?
is, I think you need to be done, if you just come to a consensus, you're going to be, you ask us to start recruiting perhaps.
Yeah.
Yep. We can work with Derlin on an application form if you probably already have one from the past or something. So,
You know, we can dig that out, or probably those are fairly generic, I'm assuming anywhere.
But
Yeah.
Again, I think it would be important for us to have a conversation before any of those applications were turned into appointments. That's all I'm.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that'll come before.
Great, thank you.
thanks a lot.
Thanks, Noel.
Well, hopefully they, you never know. You're not getting much for volunteerism these days, but maybe now's the time.
I think it's a good time because like you said, it is
I just want to be sure, I
in
mean,
the,
from the one meeting that I attended, I think it's really important that we be careful not to only listen to the voices that speak and the ones that are collected in their thoughts, because I don't know if that makes any sense, but we need to hear from more people than just the ones that have specific ideas.
how do you hear from someone like that?
I don't
They're
know.
willing
That's,
to-
well, I don't know. My point about just, we need to be
So-
cautious if we can, so that the consensus is in fact.
Right, no,
what the community would like.
okay,
So I think, can I just add to that some of it's built into the process of developing a comprehensive plan, where we're really trying to figure out multiple avenues to try to get people's voices. So we are going to do surveys, we'll do more community meetings, we'll have to maybe target, targeted communications and those kinds of things. And then it's the important part about having a balanced perspective on the committee is helping to filter out all the different perspectives that you're going to get through a pretty lengthy process, and helping us figure out what words and what does all that conversation mean. So having a well-rounded committee with sort of different perspectives on it is actually really helpful.
Agreed.
I like,
Hello?
Yes. Oh, sorry. That's yours, Lincoln.
Hello,
Hi,
hi, Lincoln.
I just wanted to say that just to let you guys know that I'm probably gonna write an article about this process, which I think is really dated. I think you have a serious crisis on your hands. I try to pull the alarm at a meeting several weeks ago and was shut down for my trying to raise it. I support the comprehensive task force, but what you have is a house on fire, and you're trying to solve the problem with decades-old processes and gathering data. By the time you're done in 2 years, your community, which already, as you know, is under tremendous stress, is going to be totally underwater. So I think there's a serious urgency to this matter. I'm a resident of this town. It resembles nothing like what I saw 20 years ago. I just want to let you know I intend to keep reporting on it to the best of my ability. The old methods are not going to work. Thank you.
Thanks, Lincoln.
I would just say we gotta start somewhere, and I'm excited to work with Noel and
Mhm.
hear people and get a variety of information, so we gotta start somewhere. With all due respect.
Okay. Anyone else?
Not right now.
Okay, item H, review of fiscal year 2024 budgets, public safety.
You didn't need a motion on that, correct?
No,
Well, didn't we say we were gonna authorize Sterling to put together the
To begin recruiting.
materials, the recruiting materials, doesn't that?
Yeah, we can make it, we can formalize.
So moved,
Second.
All in favor?
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, public. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have one question about this. General supplies. It's kind of a few things besides FICA, ICMA, and so forth. It was going up. So
Looking at these, I'm guessing.
yeah, it's line 1440330. 53110. Page 3 of 7.
5-3.
There was what.
Oh, yeah. About 70% of those increases are EMS supplies.
Oh, excuse me,
EMS supplies,
Oh,
mostly consumable, which we did not have.
right,
And I would,
It's a learning.
I was just gonna say, I would expect that's a,
Well, I did get a pretty good estimate from Peyton last year, but they just do, like, we were really going through more than what they did.
and obviously supplies have gone up a tremendous amount as well.
So far this year, in fact, we've broken it down with help of Jay, because general supplies, they have two, so higher end of UMass that we use to higher spends.
I had a,
oh, yeah.
I had a question on the police. I was looking through and I was like, whoa, there's a lot, there's gonna be a lot, there's gonna be a lot. And I get to the bottom, it was only 10%. And I found that it seems like most of the increases were offset by one removal of the equipment vehicles line.
Yeah, those were put over in the CIP this year.
Okay,
They,
oh, yeah, I remember that, okay.
when we first built the CIP, I think the thinking was we bought one car every year to keep in the operating budget,
Okay,
but it never really aligned with the other equipment schedule. Finance department, so we switched them into CIP because that's where all things that cost that much money reside.
and that just happened.
this, yeah, we were presented at the
Yeah.
CIP last month. That was in there.
So if that hadn't happened, this budget would be up
Yeah,
a lot.
the major changes in the fee, there's one thing in the contract and service. line.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the addition of a shared mental health liaison.
Okay.
To provide services directly, and I'm gonna defer to Dave to tell you a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Not at all.
So I worked with the MDI hospital a year and a half ago now on community practice with a bunch of agencies from southern United States. One thing that we learned through that was that a lot of our mental health calls that we were responding to really are not law enforcement calls, but we're the ones that are in that field.
Right.
We put together a pilot program in May of last year with Healthy Acadia, AMHC, who does crisis services through Hancock County. And basically we got them to let one of their crisis workers work out of our police department 1 day a week. We didn't know what we received for benefits out of that. One thing cops don't like is change. Weren't really sure whether they were gonna embrace it. And wholeheartedly, I think our supervisors meeting, that's the one thing when we went and talked about budgets going into this year, they're like, we need to have somebody here full time. And it's really taken some of that call volume that is mental health related, crisis stuff that we're tied up with a lot of the time on our calls that really cops do a fantastic job at, but really is not a uniformed officer position.
Right.
So we talked a little bit about doing it either contract service to contract, somebody to work with us all the time, or put it as something right in our budget, and we decided that that probably would be the best way to make sure that we have consistency in how we want to operate as a police department. So this would be shared 60-40, just like all of our services are between Bar Harbor and Mount Desert. It's in the Bar Harbor budget. Just with having the mental health worker working 1 day a week with us, we're able to document 30 calls that she was heavily involved with that got services for people in our communities outside of what law enforcement could offer. The big thing that I hear from working with the mental health folks is that we do a great job down here on the island to make sure that we're not criminalizing mental illness. I think this is another step in the right direction for us to move forward as an agency to provide a better service for them.
Nicely explained.
Is this gonna remain 1 day a week? Is that?
No, this will
This will be a full time?
It will be a 40-hour week.
Okay.
So we have somebody at our disposal. Granted, we won't have them 24/7, but we'll work
Right.
out something as far as having them on call or available certain days a week, so we can. And the one good thing right now, we usually are waiting a week
Yeah,
to get somebody into a pipeline. We can handle the crisis with one officer, not a Thursday or Friday, and she tends to be here. And then usually when she walks through the door, we've got a pile of stuff. We're going, hey, we need to follow her and get them back into the community with the law enforcement officer, sometimes on our own, because sometimes just the presence of uniform is met with some resistance when it's not really a criminal matter, but it's a mental health issue.
and this person's working directly with the public with the assistance as needed of the police officer. Is that right?
The way we set the pilot up, nobody's really funding it. AMHC is paying for it, so they have a person on call 24/7.
Mhm.
And that they've decided that the 1 day a week, that person who carries their phone to provide services all over Hancock County comes to Bar Harbor PD and
I
sits there
see.
and answers the phone.
I
So
see.
we kind of get them for ourselves. If something happens up in Ellsworth, they leave. So this would get us a dedicated service. And I would add that every time we apply use of force, if we put our hand on somebody just to help them into the car or anything all the way to gunfire, we fill out a use of force report. And I could share that with you. We do an annual one and take a look at it. But I'll tell you, right off, 75 to 80% of our use of force reports are on mental health. A lot of times they're happening right in the hospital. And so I think this is a way to try to mitigate some of those interactions as well, along with some other things we're going to be rolling out with less than lethal systems that we're moving towards. And this is really an extension of all of our efforts.
So just out of curiosity, but what percentage of those incidents are drug or alcohol related?
It's all intertwined. It's the people that are doing this mental health crisis sort of offered to come to a meeting and talk to all of you if you'd like to sort of show you where those, things pick up. We do so much of this work and we're not the best people to be doing. Something we can inflame, we're lucky we have some pretty talented people that know how to de-escalate very well, but this is different. This is really designed to keep people out of the emergency room, and oftentimes that's our first stop. And an emergency room stay for someone in crisis now, not uncommon to have them sit there for a week in the ER, because there's no service, false alarm enforcement. So when that thing starts to spin up and get aggravated and irritated, that's another call for us to come down to the hospital and try to calm things down. And then you do it again next week, because they end up getting sent home because there's nowhere to go. And this is a direct community-based person that can go out there a couple of days a week and go, how you doing? Maybe we could get you to a different doctor, then maybe, we can try some different things. And now that I've seen it in action, I'm so impressed that we probably shouldn't have known this 30 years ago.
I think the consistency must be key, like to have someone different every week or I would think that would
Yeah,
make
it is,
it.
and connecting the dots and connecting the hospitals, connecting the providers, and financially, the approach we took, we think it's better for this person to work for one of the municipalities. The way it's presented, this would be a Bar Harbor employee, with Bar Harbor wages and benefits, which are really about the same as yours, but it's better ways than what they're making at the crisis thing. We had better health insurance benefits. I think that was something to entice a good person to come in and do the work and to keep them here. And we still have to work some things out about, mental health services requires supervision. So you may have to contract some of that, but that money's, your 40% is what's in that contract line. That's why that's up.
And thank you. And but you won't, it won't be able to post even for this until after the budget all passes, because I think this sounds.
Yeah, it's gonna pass in 2 towns.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great. Thank you.
This is the first we've talked about it publicly.
Well, you did a great job.
You did, that's amazing.
Really sounds good.
The other thing that's in the public safety budget is another, I talked to you about it before when we weren't able to fill the dispatch position.
Right.
So in the communications budget, we proposed a dispatch supervisor. And that pretty much uses up the funding for that 4th person that we weren't able to hire. It'll have a little higher wage. We haven't spent much of that money this year, so we're gonna try to put that together in the next month or two to get it going temporarily to see how well it will work in anticipation of it getting funded as a shared dispatch. So that's in there as well.
Great. Cool.
Right. Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Any other business? All right, then I will read the warrants. Purchase warrants. Approve and sign treasurer's warrants as shown. Town invoice AP 2340 and AP 2343 in the amount of $409,392.17.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? State fees and payroll benefits, AP 2341, AP 2342, and town payroll PR 2314 in the for a grand total of $233,268.55.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor? And school invoices, school payroll PR 13, voided disbursements V 2305 and V 2306. For $109,735.74.
Move it now.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?